All right, out there in YouTube land. This is JD walking to my channel. I should put a hat on so I look cooler. Hang on. Let me get a hat on so I look cooler. And then put it on backwards so I look really cool, right? So welcome to my channel. I should probably put a flight helmet on. It's look super cool, right? But I have to reach up there in the corner. You can see a flight helmet right there. That's a flight helmet. So I'm in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 right now. I've flown every flight simulator since Pontius was a pilot. It's actually not a bad joke. And this is pretty good. The only thing I don't like right now is the Tobii eye tracker is not working correctly. It's tracking just the eyes. And thank God you're just seeing the Earth here. But there are many activities. If I start with activities here, flight sim, you've got a whole flight training center here, which is kind of cool for newbies who do flying. Low altitude rally racing, low altitude racing as well. A challenge. I love the landings. They've got oil rig landings, all kinds of different landings that you can do. These are pretty amazing. I haven't tried the Red Bull racing. I just got this. National Champion Air Racing. All this is more of a gamey thing. And then custom content. Believe that's where you can load third-party stuff up. And Discovery is discovering various areas of the world. So the Grand Canyon, and I imagine that the scenery in these areas look a lot better than the scenery that's not in these areas, because they make sure that these areas are well done. So, and the menu system's pretty intuitive. It's not too bad. People were saying it was there's my flight training, 0, basic handling, takeoff and landing. So I've been flying this stuff since like I said, 1985, and I've been working in the aerospace world with pilots and engineers my whole career. So I kind of understand a lot of that. They've got a career mode here, which is pretty cool. That's me, by the way. That's a picture of me. And you can start your career in any location. And I'm a Canadian A, so you might start my career in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and go to the Halifax. Where is it? Come on, show me some Halifax stuff here. Halifax Airport. I want to get to Halifax International Airport. Am I missing something here? Halifax International Airport. There it is there. Didn't even bother saying the term international. So there we go. That's where I would start my career right here. And I'm not going to do that whole career thing right now. What I want to do, though, is look at the aircraft. So I want to make this a quick streaming video because a lot of people that have this have already seen everything. That world flying around is a result of the Tobii eye tracker. And I actually have to look somewhere else on the screen to slow it around. So I'm going to go to free flight. One thing is that in the marketplace, if I go up top here on the menu and I get all of the general graphics and everything else that you have, let me look at that first. Okay, so I've got the graphics. I've got a high-end computer and I've got it running here on 2560 to 1440 resolution. I got no frame rate. I got it on ultra quality. I got a high-end system. I've got a 4090 video card in this thing, and it's just smoking. So language, sound, all kinds of things you can do for aircraft engines, kind of like the old thing. Camera is a whole other thing too, for zooming, quick views, all kinds of stuff make it kind of interesting. Flight model, realism. I went with the modern flight model as opposed to, I think they have modern and legacy. I don't want to go to legacy. I want to go to modern. Yes, switch model. I just hit cancel. No, switch the model. There we go. And it has realistic for all flight controls as presets. So that's the flight model. And then the flight interface, free look, all kinds of stuff in here. I'm not going to go through this, but this is kind of what the menu looks like. You can quickly look at it yourself right now if you haven't bought the program yet. I just spent an hour showing my buddy the program in all of its glory and pains, right? So cockpit interaction, all that kind of external camera. I know one thing that doesn't work is the eye tracking on this. It tracks just the eye, which is not good. They have the advanced stuff. They've always had advanced here where you can add new rendering windows. So they don't work properly. I have two screens on the side that are different size than the screen in the center. So all I do is I grab the edges and stretch it one way and stretch it the other way. Works perfect. No problem there at all. But they should have added zooming in the multi-window. So if I render a new window here, and that's my window, and it's got lateral, vertical, and roll. This is crap. They should have had zoom as well, because then you can have the perfect distancing for your side windows, which they didn't add. I don't know why they didn't add it. Anyway, so I'm going to get rid of this other window here, no problem. And then that's an advanced option. So that's all that stuff. Assistance, you've got auto rudder, assisted yoke, AI trim, all kinds of assistance. I tend to not want the assistance, right? So I don't want to trim. I turned off some of my other assistants for this, for the helicopters, the cyclic and the tail rotor collective. I turned all that off. Makes for a real joyride. I put a video online watching me try to land on a hospital with no assistance. It's fun. And they also have all this. I recommend that you get rid of things like the taxi ribbon and the flight path. This puts those little squares everywhere where you're flying, which is terrible. So if you put in a flight plan, that's what you get. You don't want that. So in realism, you want to disable the crash damage, disable the stress damage. I think you want to disable those as opposed to enabling crash damage, maybe. I'm not sure. Let's enable them. When you click yes, it's yes, I'm disabling. So no, I'm not disabling, right? I think that's what that means. You guys can tell me by crashing and figuring out what happens. And engine stress. Let's see if I can blow the engine up as well. Disable engine stress damage. No. So that's what you do. Unlimited fuel, I put that on there for now because I hate running out of fuel. And then your controls are an interesting bag of whatever. In your controls, I've got the Velocity 1 rudder. I only have one. I'm not sure why it shows up as two, but it does. So it doesn't make any sense. Maybe left foot, right foot. And I've got the Warthog throttle. And I've got the Warthog. I have the AVA base I bought for almost 400 bucks Canadian. But I've got the AVA base with my Warthog cyclic on top. It works very good, but it doesn't show you the device with the numbers, which I'm pissed off at. It doesn't show you the device. I'm not sure why. Do I have to add a graphic somewhere for it to do that? I'd love to. But all the axes seem to work fine. I don't seem to have any sensitivity issues with that particular control. Let me go back here. But when you're trying to get this stuff mapped properly, all you do is you select your device first, right? And they have the aircraft. I made a mistake by calling this aircraft look around. I shouldn't have just called it aircraft general controls because it's going to apply to all your aircraft. And when you set a control and say I set a button on my HOTAS here, let me see if I've got a button. So I search by input. So you click input and I click the button. So there's button 24 and there's nothing mapped to 24. So if I search by input and say that button should be, let me say in general, we're going to do afterburner. After. So this should give me afterburner. There it is there. I'm not sure why it has helicopter here, but it does because it shouldn't be the helicopter controls. So that's afterburner. So if I click on this here and I just click the afterburner, it should toggle the afterburner. So it's scanning and it's not getting that particular control. That's interesting. So if I click another control here, there we go. It's telling me a 15 afterburner. So aircraft general controls, click the button here and then hit apply to all. And this goes and saves it in the cloud, right? So there you go. That's the afterburner button. Now, I don't want to have the afterburner button here, so I want to get rid of that. So if I go up here, you'll see that I've got the electronic flight bag also in here. And I've got an engine governance switch here that I don't really need for this. So I can click that, hit delete, and get rid of that assignment, and then go back. And then the previous assignment is still there. So if I click again, you'll see toggle electronic flight bag. So anyway, play with this until you figure it out. What I recommend, they don't have the numbering on the actual hardware in Flight Sim 2020. They actually had the numbers, so you know which numbers align to what part of the thing. So what I did was I just went into 2020. I went in and I filtered on everything that was my stick, for example, my cyclic assigned, right? And I got to just X out this word after here. And after I basically, okay, just delete that. There we go. That's all the assignments here. And after I did that, I just took my iPhone and I took a picture of my screen with all the mappings. So once I had the picture of my screen with all the mappings, I loaded up 2024 Flight Sim. I went in and I found the names, like toggle landing gear is 21 on the throttle, right? So I know this now. So I did that with the throttle, and I did that with the AVA base, which is in fact, these are all my sticks, right? The trims, the aileron trims, elevator up, no, down, all that kind of crap. So that allows me to map what I had before and not have to be in the middle of nowhere, not addressing it properly. So let me just hit back. It says save and back, but I should just hit back. So now I've got that done. I need to find, I got basically the aircraft I have here. Just as a point, I have the HPG, High Performance Group helicopters. So if I hit helicopter here, High Performance Group did a deal with Microsoft, and they put the H225 into this program, so it's embedded in the program. But previous version, I bought the H160 helicopter because I just love flying helicopters, and I bought the actual H145, which is somewhere. Where is it? Back here. There's the H145. When you click a helicopter, let's hit the H160 here, and then you go down to configure in the lower left-hand corner, it goes to a different menu, which I like. Oh, and by the way, I haven't had one blue screen of death in this program yet, which is really nice. You hit variants and livery, so I can hit the civil variants or the luxury variant. Let's do the luxury variant and then hit my liveries, luxury 2, luxury 3, all kinds of different luxury variants. Of course, if you're going to be cool, you got to go for the shiny one. Everyone likes shiny aircraft. Then you hit save and back. And then I'm going to basically, I've got that. You've got to save and back as well to get out of here. That's the aircraft I selected. And I'm going to depart Halifax International Airport. It's in the Maritimes in Nova Scotia. So if you ever get there, great. I was going to do Logan and stuff like that, but then you have the chance of doing a flight. So I want to fly from Halifax to Shearwater, see if I can do that. So you have a tab in the bottom that opens the electronic flight bag. It places you where you are on the map here. And you hit here, and I want to depart from Halifax. And it should, one thing you need to do is know the symbols. You can't select the airport by typing the name, which is, I think, BS. So Halifax is CYHZ, and Shearwater, I need a landing spot here, helicopter landing spot. Where do I want to go here? So Shearwater should be over here somewhere, unless they don't have it mapped properly. Well, let's just map out a landing pad. So I want a simple one, CIW2, CIW2. So CI, and so I got CYHZ, CIW2. So CIW2, W2, there we go, and CYH, Z. We call it Z in Canada. You guys call it Z in the US if you're watching. So I'm on runway 5. I had an office on runway 5 in Halifax. So back in the day. So that's my route. You can add an approach to this, but not really needed. That's showing the map here. And it lets you zoom in with your wheel, zoom in and zoom out of the map, and then pull it around. It's high quality. I should be able to center on my aircraft here. And I'm centering on the aircraft here, but it's looks like it's no longer showing me stuff. So I'm going to go back, and then I'm going to hit route. I'm not going to go through complete flight planning right now. And I'm going to turn this off and turn it on again. So I'm going to turn it off because I think I've got it in there. And let's see if it saved anything. Did it save anything? No. Okay, so now you go down below. I want to file the flight plan with air traffic control. I want to send the route to my avionics of my 160, my H160, and I want to save the flight plan, and I want to save it to cloud storage, Xbox cloud storage. So let's call this Halifax. Let's call this just Halifax, Halifax. Learn how to spell, old man. Learn how to spell. So now that's saved in the cloud, so I can load now from the cloud, and it should show Halifax. And I've already flown Edmonton this morning, so now I'm loading from the cloud. So this is really good. So I had different flight planning software before, and I decided that this software should do the trick. I'm not sure why it's putting me here, but this is crazy stupid. So I'm going to close this off and start flight. And when I start flight, this should put me on the runway. So what it does here, I've got cloud cover here, but what it's doing is it's moving around. I'll just lower this camera just a bit here. It's going to put me on the runway in my H160 aircraft, and it's not a cold, dark start right now. It's got everything running. I've made videos in the past about how to start up an H160 helicopter. The most important part of starting it up is don't make mistakes. Make sure your fire bottles are good too for your engines. So this is starting up in Halifax. That is the Halifax International Airport in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada. And it's loading it up right now. It's not sure why it's showing me the puffy cloud scene, but it's showing me the puffy cloud scene. I believe that I can't zoom in while it's loading. It's taking a few minutes, but the eye tracker is working. I'm going up and down. Now it's coming right into the airport, and there we go. So there's the airport. There's this electronic start cart next to it that's flashing on and off. It's raining out in Halifax. No shit. That's normal Halifax weather. So I have my throttle at full here by accident, so I'm going to restart flight. Basically when you hit the escape key, you get this. You get your flight information, basic flight information, where you are, all that kind of crap. You can open the flight bag at that point in time, or you can just hit restart flight. I want to restart the flight because I have my throttle full here, and it read that throttle input and went boom, and all of a sudden I'm in the air. Not a good thing. So now it's restarting the flight. I don't know how much time this takes. I think I was counting on like 30 seconds for it to do its job. But it's got to grab the airport. It's got to grab the data. It seems like it starts fresh. It may have something to do with your internet connection. It may have something to do with Microsoft Cloud Service, because the cloud service really shit its pants last Tuesday at noon. I bought this and I thought I was good to go. Let's hopefully it stays on the ground here. There we go. So I've got this. It's going to turn on. My eye tracker lets me move a little bit, but they got to fix the Tobii eye tracker. It keeps saying fuel low too for some reason. I don't think my fuel is low because I put in definite amount of fuel. Let's keep that down. This is the H160 model that you buy, but it's fundamentally like the 225 that they have in the aircraft. You can use your shift key to do shift 1, shift 2, shift 3, shift 4, and you're just basically shifting around the avionics. And shift 8, shift 9. So there you go. That's a shift key. What I've done is I've made my trigger key the center. So whenever I go to an internal view, I hit trigger. So the external view, I also have that mapped as well. And I have a little tiny joystick on my throttle so I can move around and have a look. And I also have a zoom on my throttle so I can zoom in like this and have a look at the people that are really afraid to fly with me. And there she is. She's afraid to fly with me. Obviously, I did not put myself in the cockpit, but in this particular model, you can do that. And you just jump inside again, and I can go and I believe I can configure this, right? So there we go. That's the autopilot part of the thing. But if I go down here, hit my maps again, get over here, equipment and payload. So I can go here and I can put myself in the seat. So now I'm in the seat. It's all good. And I can look at what equipment I have on board and change any of that as well. and then do some setup stuff. So this is specific to the H-160 aircraft. The flight bag that comes with this is different. So let me just open up the flight bag. I have the big red button on the Warthog throttle lets me do this. It throws up this flight bag. I'll move it over here just so you can see things. It doesn't want to move. There we go. It allows me to move it. So I'll put it center screen. And I think there's a configuration thing here that lets me make it bigger. Let's see if I can make this darn thing bigger. Where is that configuration thing? It was here somewhere. Somebody moved it. Anyway, I won't worry about it now. You guys can read it from here. Flight charts, no, I know what it was. Settings on the bottom. So I can make this large. So now you can see it. And I did not want to hit record. But anyway, now you can see that. So basically, you've got the buttons on the bottom that let you get from the aircraft type and performance information about the aircraft. The aircraft that are part of the Microsoft will let you open these things up. This is not part of Microsoft, so I'd have to do a checklist myself for this, but the other aircraft have a checklist. So I could change aircraft to show you that, but I'm not going to bother. This is just a quick look. There's my pilot hours right now so far. Total flight hours, 6 hours. And then my settings, like I said, tablet size, unit of measure, knots, feet, all that wonderful stuff. And flight planner, aircraft. These are your favorite bars. I'm fine with that. And then this flight planner here is what I think is amazing. So I put this flight in already. I saved it to my files. I can enter my flight number as flight 123, and my call sign is JD123, and it'll talk to me. I'm going to give it a transponder. I'm going to give it an aircraft to DENT mode S transponder, a scheduled flight. All that's good stuff, as they say. That's the flight date and time. That's where I am. I can go back to here, and this is where my departure is, and my arrival, and my approaches, and my airports, and all kinds of really cool stuff. So basically, with this flight planner, you don't need to buy a third-party flight planner. Now, there we go. Let's recenter this. And I think there's a way of centering it to north. I'm trying to remember how I did that, but it wasn't like that. You could actually center this and make north. It was in settings somewhere. Tablet orientation. No, where was it? Wasn't that. It had to do with the maps and the centering of the maps, but obviously not that. Settings, aircraft, flight planner. You'd think it'd be in flight planner, eh, folks? You'd think it'd be in flight planner. Anyway, I can't find it right now, but I had it earlier. Payload. So here you're adding your payload, your fuel weight, and other information. There's my fuel, my trip fuel, my taxi fuel, external fuel, reserve fuel, fuel. So that's all fuel stuff. And then the stopwatch, so you can start that right away, and away you go. So there's the basic flight planner. Go into it, have a look. The note I have is that it's really good. It's replaced a flight planner I had previously. So let's make this a little bit smaller again. Tablet size. And I guess I can flip the orientation of the tablet as well from vertical. I like it like this. And again, I have a button mapped on my throttle, a big red button on the throttle that just makes it disappear. Now, I want to be able to move this, and I guess the corner or side of this moves it. Now, I run 3 screens, but that doesn't kind of work when you're doing this type of video. So on my own tablet here that comes with this aircraft, you've got all kinds of crap. So including maps, which is nice. And so I recommend that you go to the High Performance Group and buy the High Performance Group 160, H-160, and H-145 aircraft for search and rescue. So now when I step out, I think there's a step out of the aircraft, like a Shift S or something for stepping out of the aircraft. I'm not sure what it is. Shift F, Shift something steps you out of the aircraft to walk around. I may have to Google that. But anyway, let's look outside the aircraft. So there's the aircraft from the outside. And like I said, I mapped a button in there. So there I am now sitting in the aircraft. as part of the cargo load. And I think that's Vice President Kamala Harris there that's in the co-pilot seat now because she needs a job after January. So there's the situation. Kind of a brownish aircraft, but let's jump in again for a second. And I want to look at the runways. So everything looks really real. I'm going to go up to weather here. Let's look at the menu bar up top here. So first I've got this menu, which allows you to turn on and off weather. This is the menu of the menus. So this basically allows you to have other menus available or not available, right? So turn that off. This here menu there it is. This is my GTN Garmin, I think 750. It's initializing the system. So that's the system. If you look in my aircraft, let me just go down here. That's the system that's right there, the Garmin. So that's right there. And let me put that in map mode because I'm a good guy. And I'm going to make my floats are automatic because you're in Halifax. You always have to have automatic floats. And then I want to have all this on. I'll do auto temp, auto recirculate air. That's all good stuff. And these lights should all be off, which is good. Anyway, this is the Garmin. I don't use that typically, but here's the feature I've been waiting for a long time. This is the flight recorder. So you can do a record and an instant replay, or you can do just hit record, hit the record button, and now the flight is actually being recorded. Let me just center my thing here. And what I'm going to do to prove this is I'm going to take off and a couple inches off the ground, and then I'm going to land again. So let me just take off. I have all of the assistance off here now, so it's flying like a real helicopter, and I've landed. So there we go. Stop that. And then if I hit replay, it'll play that. Now, the funny thing happened before is that there was a fire in the engine, and I'm not sure why. So I'm going to just step up for 1 second because I think my wife is coming home, and she's going to come in and go, hey, while I'm recording. So I'm on the air. Now, I'm not sure. I did this last time. I hit record and playback, and for some reason, I ended up with a fire in the engine. But because I'm a guy who likes to take advantage of what's going on here, let me just center that. I've got a fire in the engine. So what I would typically do here is basically fire a fire bottle, right? So let me stop this recording for a second, right? There we go. Turn on the brakes and then center this. And you would, if I can get up to my avionics here, I see that there's a fire in the engine. That's never a good thing, right? So I'm going to do this, and I'm going to go sideways here. And then I'm going to look up. I'm going to look way up. Look way up. That still isn't working properly. The Tobii eye tracker will allow me to do this without a problem. There we go. So I get the fire in the engine, so I'm going to open the cage here, press the button. Now that should fire off the bottle, but it doesn't seem to want to do that. So what I'm going to do is turn off the engine, right? Which make it a little more difficult to fly, but I just wanted to show you that. So, but I think I've got a problem here. So because I've got this problem, I'm going to go out again, and I'll show you how to go out. But that's the recording. And when you record, after you do your playback, you can step out the aircraft, it'll fly. You can do landings, you can do all kinds of stuff with the recording function. So that's a perfect function to have. But because I'm so annoyed with the sound, I'm just going to come out of there, and I'm going to end flight because I want to actually pick a different aircraft, because my H160 craft, when I hit record, there's something in there that wants to turn on that fire bottle. So I'm going to go to the H225 that comes with Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 and open up that aircraft. And I'm going to do the same departure. I'm going to go to Halifax, and I'm going to scoot my way over to wherever that is. I don't want to go there. I want to go to Courtney, Seattle. I want to go to Shearwater, actually, but why they wouldn't have Shearwater, I don't know. They got Shearwater here, but is it Shearwater, Nova Scotia? I don't think so. You see that flight path? And I'll go to Moncton. Moncton, New Brunswick, or PEI, Moncton. Moncton is an air traffic control center, so MONCTON, is that right? There we go, Moncton International Airport. So that's a little bit more realistic. And again, my flight bag here, if I look at the flight information I have here, it's probably not, it's Halifax to Moncton. Yeah, that's good. It's in there. And I'm just going to save that plan like I did last time. Save that to Xbox Cloud Storage. So it did spit that in there. Save plan, Halifax, Moncton. And I'll capitalize it for all the people that really love Moncton out there. So there we go. It's done. Start flight. I'm going to jump back in. And again, hopefully it's loaded all the data and I don't have to wait for a week to get this thing up and running again. So meanwhile, I think I'll have to tell you a joke or something. So DKB joined me. So hey there, DKB. I think you're the one that joined. I'm in Halifax, Nova Scotia, and I'm in a 225 aircraft. And like I said earlier, I've been flying flight simulators since I was a youngin'. And the very first Microsoft flight simulators where they just had those vectors. And so I've had every version of flight simulator since the beginning. So what I did was, as I said earlier, if you weren't on, is I mapped all of my buttons on my throttle. And I have the Warthog throttle and I have the Warthog cyclic, but I also have the AVA base. And you can watch the video later where I show all that. I should have all my avionics on, right? I'm not sure why I did a cold and dry start here, but everything should be on right now, and it doesn't seem to be on. So let me step out here for a second again and see whether I've got an issue. There's the aircraft. So this is kind of odd because right now the aircraft looks like it's on, but none of my avionics are on. That makes absolutely zero sense, folks. So that might be a bug in the system. I don't know, but good looking aircraft though. And I have zooms again. Some of them mapped to my throttle and joystick here. So I'm just going to go back in the aircraft here and see if I can. Eventually, the avionics will turn themselves on. Well, look at that. So it's shuttering here. So it should be on, but it's not showing itself, which is odd. This is obviously an error in the program. So because I hate errors and you can't basically do this properly, I'm going to load another aircraft. So I'm going to hit escape again. So that is a bug in the program for you people from Microsoft. I want to end the flight or go to settings. I'm not sure if I can pick another aircraft from settings. No, I can't. So I got all the things I talked about before with controls, accessibility, and all of that stuff. But I can't, I have to end flight and pick another aircraft. End flight. And I want to pick a different aircraft, like, because I want one that works. I'll head to the old standard Bell 407. It's got to work. Save and go back. Not going to bother with the liveries of the aircraft. Go to Halifax again. Arrive in Moncton, wherever that is. And actually, I could have probably just opened my EFB and then gone into trying to find the route, right, or recover the route. So here I've got the file with ATC, route to my avionics, and I don't need to request route. And I've already saved this one before, so I'm not going to bother saving it. So I'm just going to click this and go out of that and hit start flight. And let's hope that the avionics work this time. And it does this again, where it kind of hovers over the airport. Again, as I said earlier, Tobii Eye Tracker wasn't working, so I had a lot of problems with Tobii Eye Tracker. It just tracks the eyes, and that's it. So let me see. It shouldn't be cold and dark. So there we go. So I got some stuff working on this very simple helicopter. Yeah. Now, if you look at this, basically, I've got my There we go. My rudder pedals are mapped. Everything is mapped. My stick's mapped. Everything is mapped. My throttle's good. So let's just take off and have a look. So here they took the old Halifax scenery from the Xbox cloud that they had, and they've mapped it over to the new Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, which is a good thing. And I'm just going to fly for 2 seconds before I decide to hang this up. I used to work at this airport. I worked for IMP Aerospace down the end of the runway, and I believe my hangar was hangar 6, if I can recall. And I had the office, upper floor, 3rd floor office right next to the CanJet hangar. So it was way down there. So now this scenery loads in because this is all coming from the cloud. And sometimes you're flying and all of a sudden an airplane will appear. I'm not sure if you can control the amount it initially loads in, because it would be nice if you actually could say, okay, load in 90% of my scenery, and then because I don't want to have this thing jittering while I'm trying to fly, right? So here we go. I'm watching my rate of descent meter here on the altitude, and that little brown hangar right there is where I worked on the 3rd floor. So I was running the Cormorant helicopter program. Now, the most important part of Halifax Airport is the Tim Hortons. So you've got Tim Hortons is right. You fly around Tim Hortons. Tim Hortons is right here. There's Timmy's. And they did a really good job modeling Timmy's. They even have the sign for it. So that's Tim Hortons. Now, one thing when you've got scenery mapped over from 2020 to this version, it is not wintertime in Halifax. So I'm not sure if I change the weather, will the roads change. I have the big lever on that set to pause. So so it makes it easy for me to pause the simulation. But if I hit weather really quickly, you can have live weather here. And that's what it's like right now in Halifax, which is raining out today. Or I can add wind, which I love to do because it affects what the water textures look like. And I can say, well, give me a few clouds or scattered clouds in the sky, or maybe just broken clouds. That's pretty, there's nasty stuff happening over there. So that's broken clouds. And you can do all what you did before in the other, in Flight Sim 2020, same thing, right? And so it's either live or custom, but you leave it on live, and you can change your time of day as well. So there we go. You can go right into the evening, and then everything lights up. And have you got beautiful lighting in this simulator, as you can see. Let me bring it back here. And there we go. So that's the weather. You just go up here like you did before, and you get the weather. Now, if you want to map your controls, I found that clicking that icon for a gamepad is the best way of mapping your controls. I showed you earlier what you need to do. Your controls are on the side. I'm not sure why it doubled over on my router, or my rudder rather, but it did. But you want to basically, oh, hey JD, I see you're flapping your wings. Yeah, it's Chrono Best, who's a watchmaking guy on this thing, because these guys know me as a watchmaker. So the flying watchmaker. Thanks a lot. Welcome to Up. I think you're up now. Anyway, you set this by picking your hardware device, and then after you've picked your device, you can do some filtering and do the mapping of this device. There's no filters on right now, but if I hit filters, it's going to show me everything that was mapped. Now, what I said earlier for this is go to Flight Sim 2020 if you've had that before. Bring this screen up and take pictures of this. Scroll down, take another picture. Scroll down, take another picture. In 2020, they also have the numbers by your device, and then you go to Flight Sim 2024 and you remap it. It's not a hard job. It's doable. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, but you can do it. So not a bad job. So that's the input for that. And like I said earlier, the flight recorder is what I was looking for. I had bought another piece of software, flight controllers for Microsoft Simulator for recording, and that particular piece of software didn't really work that well. So let me see what I'm doing here. I need to turn on the flight recorder, and it should show itself. There we go. So that's the flight recorder. So I just want to prove to you that it works. Okay, so I'm in an aircraft right now. I'm going to step outside the aircraft. It's frozen in the land of frozen because I hit pause the simulation. So there's the aircraft there. A good old Bell aircraft, Bell 401. So my friend Alan works for Bell as a chief engineer, and he worked on the 401s probably. So if I hit record, it doesn't like that I'm on pause. So let me unpause this like that and see if I can hit record here. No, it's not liking it. It's basically, I was probably already on record. No, something's funky in the land here. I think there's bugs in this program, which kind of pisses me off. Hit stop, turn this off, go up here, turn it on again. I recorded with it landing earlier. Hit record. It ain't working. Let me pull up here before I crash. I did it earlier. I'll probably have to reboot Microsoft Flight Sim, but it's a very simple flight recorder. You hit record, you can save the recording, and then you can play it back, and then you can look at all the different scenes as you're playing it back. I got to get my feet on the rudder pedals, and I got to get my butt back in the aircraft. There we go. So that's the record function. Look it up. If you buy the sim, look it up. It did work earlier, and I'm not sure why the heck it wouldn't work now. It makes no sense. I hit save, and it's basically non-functional. It ain't working. And last time I played with this in the other aircraft, it started an engine fire. So I'm going to turn this off right now. So what I wanted to check was that if the roads with the time of year, if I change the time of year and I look at the roads, there's the main highway to Halifax. I think it's this way. I'm trying to remember which way to go. I can bring up the maps again quickly. There's the airport. So I'm over the airport, and you can zoom out like this and look at where Halifax is, and Halifax is right there. So it's this direction, but I'm over the airport again. So let's just go to Halifax for a second. And what I wanted to do, that's the highway there. So let me just get off here and fly forward. Is the highways look mighty white, and I'm curious whether the white highways are due to the weather settings. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click that lever on my aircraft, freeze that, and I'm going to go into weather again, and I'm going to automatically click the wrong thing here. Go into weather, and then look at what time of year it is, month, November. So I'm going to go back a couple of months here, and you can see the trees change. So there's August. So we're going to go into September and look at the trees. You're getting fall trees, but the roads do not seem to have changed. So I think when I looked at it loading, I'll leave it at fall trees because it's pretty. I looked at it, the roads, and I couldn't see. There's a square area on the map where the Halifax International Airport add-on was. And maybe the add-on is causing these roads to be that color, right? So I'm not sure why. So what I want to do is get myself down the highway here to Halifax. I'm hoping that I can fly faster. You can only fly a helicopter so fast because of the blade that's recessing as it rotates will end up losing lift. So you can only fly helicopters so fast. I think Sikorsky may have solved that problem with a different type of helicopter with a blade in the rear that also pushes. So, and again, you guys can correct me. I'm not sure if KDB knows or DKB knows more about aircraft than I do. But anyway, probably. So, and Chrono Best is like, what are you doing? Why are you here again? Once the guy knows how to stream, he becomes a streamaholic. Wait till I start streaming my watchmaking. That'll be very interesting. The value, I think, behind the streaming is that someone can come back and watch the video and maybe by some happen chance learn something. The other thing you can't do with this is share your mappings, which is terrible. They should allow you to share the mappings of your controllers so you can send them to somebody else and they just load those mappings in. So you don't have to reinvent everything if someone's got really good mappings. So now I'm going too fast. I haul back my engine a bit. And I'm going down the main highway, This is the Trans-Canada Highway to Halifax, and flying over all these little villages. I used to live in Halifax years ago. I live in Ottawa right now, and that's the capital of Canada. Now, air traffic control doesn't like them, but they don't mind me. Now, see those waves? We're going to stop for a second, and we're going to look at the textures of those waves. I'm going to get down here low, and I'm going to freeze the aircraft for a second, and I'm going to look at the air texture, or the wave textures. So let me freeze. There, it froze the thing. I'm going to go to weather, and this is how you make it really interesting. You hit wind here, and then you pick the wind speed up. Now watch those waves. They get seriously ugly with that wind speed. And of course, the helicopter will not do well either. I'm getting white caps right now, and I'm sure if I start flying, the wind is going to throw me all over the place, which is true. So I need to get some forward speed or I'll be in trouble with this wind. So let's just see if I can get some forward airspeed, because the wind is pretty heavy. I think 45, 50 knots. So if you're flying in a normal Halifax day, you're going to get a lot of wind. So let me freeze this again and bring this into reasonable level of airspeed or wind speed. Like this, and just bring this down to like 10 or something. What I would call a decent golf day. So there we go. Now my other aircraft have got the H-160 and 145. I've got float bags. So I put them on automatic, and there's a sensor on the bottom of the aircraft, the belly of the aircraft, that will launch those float bags. If I had to turn right on that highway, I would end up going through Sackville and then through the other end of Halifax. Turning left here, look at those trees. They're crazy. I ended up going near Waverly, and I can actually fly right over where my house was. Because I did at one time stop on the highway here, stopped my car, got out of my car, ran through the woods, grabbed my golf clubs, went back into the car, and then went to the golf course because I didn't want to drive all the way around to my house. Probably because I didn't want my wife to know I was going golfing, so I just had to grab those clubs fast. So here's kind of where I lived in this area, where these houses are, and it's back here a bit. But yeah, this is Silverside subdivision, and my house is right back here. So that was years ago. Let's see if I can find that road. I think it's up here. So what they've done is they've put too many trees. This lake here is Lake William, and this lake is a lake with 3 islands, and there was an actual Atlantic sea seal in that lake, and I've kayaked this lake many times. Very beautiful. But when I get my butt to Halifax, so you guys can see the rendering of the city, and it's not too bad. I wouldn't say at first glance that it was better than Microsoft Flight Sim 2020. The trees are maybe a bit too dense, but I'm sure if I go into settings, I could probably change the density of the trees as well in my graphics settings. I wonder if I can do that. If I go up here and I hit settings, and this is not going to do it for me. I'd have to somehow hit escape like that, and then hit settings here. And in settings, you can go into general graphics settings. I have it on Windows, so I can stretch the windows all the way across my screens. But I think advanced options, it's not there. Their experimental window is terrible, by the way. It doesn't work. You can add a window, but it doesn't give you zoom. So if I render another window here, it doesn't. It gives me basically a lateral, vertical, offset, and roll, and it has a problem. It won't zoom, so you can't do it properly if you have different size screens. So it's crap. So I wanted them to do that. I don't know why it seems to be so hard. X-Plane 12 does that without a problem. So there's graphics. I think there's a bunch of assistants that I've turned off. I showed you that before. There's the controls. I'm not sure where I turn off the trees and stuff. So this is the graphics. I got it on Ultra. So if I click down here under advanced settings, if I turn the trees down, is that going to just that's not the number of trees, probably. So off-screen terrain pre-cache is high, so I can do ultra high on that, which is going to help me with any jittering level of details. So I can put the tree terrain detail down to say 125, and we'll see what happens there. So save and back up, and we'll see whether this actually resume flight gives me less density in the trees. And every time I resume flight, for some reason, the aircraft just jogs right up. So I can't see a difference in density. Maybe you can. Maybe I've got to jog it down to like 50% or something like that to get less trees, because I don't think anywhere in Canada has this many trees next to each other, especially fall foliage. I can turn that into winter pretty fast too. So now I'm heading towards an industrial park, but I really want to get my butt to Halifax. So I'm going to, for you people who have never been to Halifax before, this program is great for that kind of thing, for flying around different areas of the world. I've done business in Italy over the years, and I've gone to Milan to look where the Duomo is in Milan, and I've gone to Verona, Italy, where I've been many times. And I've been to Cascina Costa with Augusta Westland Helicopter Company, and Gallerati, Italy, Cascina Costa, and Lombardo, Italy. And I've flown the Flight Sim 2020 in all those areas, and they're bang on. It looks so cool. Also, Switzerland. I have a cousin that lives in Switzerland. My mom is Swiss, but I've got relatives in Switzerland, and he told me the ski resort he was at, and I flew my helicopter to his ski resort, and then I sent him the link to the video, and he thought it was really cool because it rendered it really well. So right in front of you is the Bedford Basin. So now in my settings for visuals, I've got major icons mapped here. So green landscaping, PI Good Work is ahead, and they've got some kind of a landing pad there. I don't know why they would. This is the Bedford Basin, and this leads to the new bridge, we call it. And the new bridge leads to the old bridge in Halifax. So we're just going to go fly through this. I put the caching on ultra, which I'm hoping this will cache everything for me, and there won't be any jittering, because when it gets to those buildings, there's a lot of buildings. So there's the new bridge, right? And of course, for all bridges, you got to fly under them if you're in Flight Sim, because you're not going to be able to fly under them if you're not. So you might as well take advantage of being able to do this carefully. So again, I've been flying flight simulators for years, and it's not that hard once you've got the hang of it. But I've taken off all of the assistance for the cyclic and collective and stuff. So it's a little trickier. So here's the shipbuilding area of Halifax, and I'm just going to fly towards the city. Now you see it jittering a bit. I bet you if I pause the simulation, I'm not sure whether it would preload the cache when I pause. It might, and it might not. So I'm flapping my wings with chrono. I got to pause for a second and see what the density of trees, but the quality of the video that renders the said trees. I don't know if it's the quality of the video, because I've got a 4090 card running the highest. My computer cost $6,000. I decided to buy the most expensive computer I could find with 4 terabytes of RAM. It's got everything. Plus, it had the 3DX processor in it at the time, and it'll run on all of it'll basically use the heck out of the processor. And the 4090 video card is really high. So I think I got to find out how to make it tell it less trees, right? And I've got one thing I don't like about this, which I thought they would resolve, is the boats don't float. The boats are in a location, and they don't float. They just kind of sit there, and the waves can go right over the boats if you're unlucky. So they did add some stuff in here. So I've got myself your typical Halifax cruise ship. They always have cruise ships, by the way, in the harbor here. And this is where the train station is in Halifax. And the most interesting part of Halifax is not this area. It's, if you turn down here, I've worked in Halifax as well when I was younger. And I've lived in Waverley for 10 years. And there's the dockyards here. It's a beautiful area in the summertime to go with your family. And they have a busker festival down here. They've got all kinds of stuff happening. But there's the hotels, and there's a casino down here. and they have the lower deck, which is a bar that's right down below me, which is kind of fun. But what they have is an old fort that's hundreds of years old. So Citadel Hill is right here, and they rebuilt the fort, I got to think 5 times, depending on who the enemy was. And there's the clock tower on the left. So that's Citadel Hill, and they do basically mock up. They have uniforms and everything from I think the 1600s, and they do mock-ups of stuff. And they fire the cannons. They do all kinds of stuff in Citadel Hill. So that's pretty cool. So that's Citadel Hill, Halifax. I'm not going to talk any more about Halifax, but the simulator is good. The thing that other people have been noticing is they'll put trees wherever there's space. They want to add trees, and in some instances, when I was flying around New York, they had trees where there shouldn't be. It should be a big parking lot. I think here there's the square where they have the New Year's festival every year, and there's a little, I think, a government building there. It's right below, and they put trees there, and there's no trees there. So that's that. So let me see how I'm doing here. So this helicopter is not a bad helicopter, but I like my H-160-145, but the fire bottle keeps going out when I try to record. So let's see if I can record anything right now. Hit this record button, embedded, and hit record, and I still get nothing. It refuses to record, and that's not good. And the playback is okay, but and let me freeze this again and look up top. Yeah. So this is for your controllers. Again, this is probably the most critical thing, is to get these things set up properly for your aircraft, general controls, and for your aircraft, right? So this is on keyboards, but Velocity 1 rudder. It's going to have some Velocity 1 rudder controls. Nothing generic on it, I don't think, but it works well on everything. And then the HOTAS, and then the AVA base I have, it cost me like $400 that you connect your stick to the base. It shows the base, everything is mappable. Like if I put the filter on here, everything's assignable, but it doesn't show you the damn graphic. So you're not sure which number is which trigger, which is stupid. So like I said before, take a photograph of this thing and use that to reassign everything. You can turn all this off, by the way. You can turn the compass off here. You can turn the airspeed power. And like I said, when you hit the escape key, it shows you your flight, departure, arrival, and some of your flight information here if I actually flew to Moncton, which I didn't. So altitudes, heading 222 knots, distance, and it says that it doesn't say how long I've been at this, does it? Maybe. ETE, so estimate time. No, it doesn't tell me how long I've been at this, but I did not follow the flight path. I was a bad boy. And you hit the escape key again, you're back into the aircraft flying. So that's it. That's just a quick look at the flight simulator. It does have really nice liveries, by the way. The liveries are amazing. The liveries are amazing. So if I go back out of this game like this, end my flight, it does that fairly fast, which is nice. Fast loads, fast ending of flight. Go back to my aircraft up here and look at all my liveries. And I look at everything has been ported over. So you've got 747s, you've got different liveries of the 747. So if you hit configure on the aircraft, it'll bring up the aircraft. It's kind of nice because it kind of slams it down on the tarmac here a bit. It does it with the other aircraft anyway. And it's got 2 liveries here, so not a lot for the 747. And it's an old aircraft. They still use it for hauling stuff. I know that. So they've got the Boeing Chinook. I flew that the other day. It's okay. It's not super impressive. And they've got a couple of these aircraft here, cargo freighters. The F-18 is really good. I love the afterburner on the F-18. It works really well. Grand Caravans, they got all kinds of aircraft. I like flying, by the way, the ATR, these as regional aircraft. I like flying get back here, the ATR 72s, dual engine aircraft. As you can see back here, I've got my throttles here like this, and I've got my stick here, and this is high-end stuff, and I just attached it to my watchmaking wall unit. So that's pretty cool. I got a question here from Magneta Man. Do you think an i7 479 will be able to run F-24? Doesn't have to be perfect. As an explanation, pretty annoying. So if you're running it on X-Plane and you're only getting 20 frames per second, it has a lot to do with your video card. So like I said earlier, I bought a 4090 video card, which are not that cheap. They're very expensive. And I think I've got, what is it? I've got an X3D chip and an Athlon AMD X3D chip. I'm trying to remember the brand it is, but it's a very high-end chip. So you should go on Ed's Hardware and have a look at where your chip falls. An X7 will run it because you can lower the details on this and you'll still run it and fly it. If you're really brave and you've got a decent motherboard, you can pop that chip out and put a better one, as long as the actual motherboard will take an upgrade. But the X7 or the i7 is not a bad chip. The 470K, that's not a bad chip. Not sure what speed that chip is, but really it has a lot to do with the threads in the chip. I think my chip has got 16 threads in it, and Microsoft, this particular simulator, claims to run all the threads. There's a lot of technical people online who will tell you maybe different. I think Chrono best knows me from watchmaking, but I'm an electrical engineer by degree, and I've been at this since we've had shit displays and using the very first Macintosh that was this big. So I've been at this my whole life, and I've had every piece of hardware from 350s to Pentium ones to every piece of hardware. But this hardware I have right now is very high end. You might be able to trial it. I'm not sure if you can trial this. You might be able to trial this and see if it works on the i7. So give her a shot. I'd do some more Googling and not rely on me. But the big thing here is the video card. Get a good video card because it's able to do a lot of processing in the video card now. So they've solved all that. I've had with the caching, because it comes from the cloud, right? So it only requires 90 gigs to load this up. And the rest of the 200 or more gigs when you go to an area loads from the Microsoft cloud. So, and I just set it to ultra for ultra loading. So preloading the buffer, which I'm hoping loads that buffer with my high-speed internet and allows me to fly without any jittering or frame jittering or anything. So mine, as you saw, flies as smooth as hell because of that, right? So maybe I can just hit system here and be a good guy. System configuration. This might services, bootstrap, startup tools. No, I think I need to go to the other system. Hang on. I'm being stupid here. System. Control panel. No, is this going to give me? Yeah, it does. So hopefully this is not dragging over properly. But if I select maybe a different window, why don't I just do that right now to show you what my setup is? So I'm going to stop sharing, but then I'm going to share and I'm going to select a different window here. And hopefully I can get my system window and share that. There you go. So that's JD, by the way. There's my email, jdrichard@rogers.com. But there's my system. So I've got a 7800 X3D, 8 core. So it's not 16. It's an 8 core processor, and it's running at 4.2 gigahertz. And I've got 64 gigs of RAM that I got for that. So I decided to go 64 gigs of RAM, and that's the rest of it. So I've got this running on. I've got two 2 terabyte processors in here, and like I said, my video card is a 4090 video card, so which is pretty high end. So you can try that out. That's what I have, and I run without any problem. So AMD Ryzen 7 7800 X3D. Back in the gaming days when it was running on a single thread, the X3D was actually working better than the higher versions that weren't X3D, because the way they took the wafers and they took wafer on wafer, and to access data through the chip, it would go down into the wafer and go back up again, as opposed to going to a different area of the chip. And that X3D technology allowed them to access data quicker. So I know way too much, don't I? So I end that. I'm going to just go back to my screen here. Just hang on one sec. And is that it? seems to be moving around here. Just hang on 1 second, please. I got to hit this one here. All right, there we go. I got it. It was moving around a bit. Hopefully that answered your question. Well, Chrono Best, like I said, I've been simming since I was a kid, and I'm in aerospace. I've flown helicopters and I've flown aircraft actually. So, but I'm in aerospace and I just love it, and I learned how to fly. Actually, I've flown the first aircraft I flew was when I was in the Army. I was an Army Armored Corps tank commander, a tank officer. I know it sounds like bullshit, but I was an Armored Corps officer back in the late 70s, early 80s, and I got to get in the front end of an aircraft and fly that aircraft because the boys said, "Hey, you want to fly?" And I just pushed forward and the thing dove. And they said, "Nah, yeah, you shouldn't do that." All right, basically turned the aircraft without pulling back, and the aircraft dove into it, went down 2,000 feet. And the loading sergeant yelled at me. He said, "Who the fuck is flying this thing?" So anyway, those were the days. Yeah, you're gonna spend a lot of money buying one of these computers. So first thing you do is you tell your wife, I think 8 months ahead of time, and then you warm her up, and then you slowly warm her up every month. You tell her, I really need a better computer for this, right? So, and then you get closer. Within 2 months, you say, if I only had a really good computer, I could learn how to actually fly in avionics and learn a lot. It's good for your mind. It's better than Sudoku. And so once you got her there, eventually it comes a time you say, I got to buy that computer. Hopefully you can afford it. And she'll go, "Well, I know you've wanted it for a long time because you've been asking it for months." And then she'll go, "Yeah, okay, go ahead and do that. We won't bother feeding the kids." The kids can starve. So anyway, that's not what I did. I just went and bought it. So if you can look here, you can see all the different de Havilland. So I've flown the Dash 8 years ago. So de Havilland aircraft, Douglas. It's got this Sky Crane thing from Sikorsky Sky Crane, which is a crazy ass aircraft. A lot of other aircraft. I think I'm going to bring the Sky Crane up for a second and just have a look at it. Okay. I'll go back to my favorite Halifax again, just so you can see the Sky Crane. I could go to Boston. I was in Boston, right? So I'll go to Chicago O'Hara. There's a flight, right? Fly now with the Sky Crane in Chicago. Chicago is one of those airports. She knows all about warm-up routine. Yeah, that's the routine you use for buying watch tools as well, right? So if only, and like I said to you yesterday, I was doing a live stream, that I bought this tool that does basically, what's the word? I just forgot the word. I had a brain fart. I'm old, Jerry. I'm old. Knurling. You said it, baby. It does knurling. So this tool does knurling, right? And you're able to knurl stuff. And I've never used it yet, but I saw it and said, it's a freaking cool tool. And it's heavy. So guys like buying shit that's heavy, okay? So I bought it just because it was heavy and no other reason. It's still loading up Chicago, by the way. That's why you're seeing clouds right now. And it's watching my eye tracker. So there we go. Look at this. There's an aircraft. Now I got to turn my throttle down or it'll start flying all over the place on me. Ready to fly. So this is a Sky Crane. Now, this is a Sikorsky aircraft, I believe. I worked on the maritime helicopter program on the H-92, they're S-92 civilian, but H-92 military aircraft. I worked on that as the program manager for that program for 7 years, right? Starting in 2004. And we were configuring the aircraft for Canadian use in search and rescue. So, and other missions, actually, not search and rescue, for anti-submarine warfare, because it had a mission system in the back from General Dynamics, and it was also SAR configuration. Did a lot of SAR support and stuff. So, but the electronic flight bag you see here, that's the thing that's new. So they never had that before. And when I as I told you, I mapped the afterburner on my Warthog throttle to remove that. So if you can look at that, see if I can move this out of the way for a second. it basically takes the EFB, the electronic flight bag, and it moves it over to outside of the holder. And then when I click it again, it puts it back in the holder. Now that's friggin' cool. Okay. Of all the things I've seen, that's cool. Now, these handles on this aircraft, I'm not sure how much of this stuff actually works. If I had, oh, look at that. It's a toggle foot mic operation. So this thing has a foot mic. So these might, down here somewhere is a foot mic to talk. And probably you need a foot mic because you're hovering large loads. So let me just use my mouse and look around here. So there's my partner, who's probably a better pilot than I am. And there's nothing in the back other than cargo that you're gonna load. And then all of the buttons for engines and everything else are up here. It'll take me a friggin' week to figure out the controls of this thing. There's the basic engine controls. They probably have a rotor brakes up here. Yeah, these are engine lever 1, engine fuel shutoff, some important stuff up there. You don't need to do there's for doing a compass swing on the aircraft to get ready. It's got a display here, which is kind of cool. I'm going to just shift myself over. So I've mapped my controls so I can center everything like this, and then I can just slide over. See, I got slide over and then zoom in. See, and then look down. And there we go. So Ericsson Air Crane Incorporated. I think this was a Sikorsky air crane. And maybe they owned Ericsson or something. I'm pretty sure that Sikorsky built that aircraft. So anyway, I don't have to tell my wife I'm going to buy this one, so that's good. Now I got, again, for someone who just dialed in, I've got Tobii eye tracker on here, and it does not track your head movement. It just tracks your eyeballs, and it doesn't let you configure it. So if I hit controls and I hit Tobii eye tracker configuration, it'll freeze the software, which really pisses me off. So it's an off pisser. So that's not good. So anyway, that's the Sky Crane. I'm sure when I interact with this and press some buttons, display, it'll end up showing me, these are the engine stuff. It'll end up showing me the Sky Crane part, because imagine there's a camera or something that points at what you're doing. So let me get this beast in the air first, okay? So let me just reset my display, and I've got like trigger 1 on reset display. And again, I said that the afterburner for the fighters is mapped now to the electronic flight bag, and I'm just going to assume everything is good here. And I'm going to take off with this aircraft. Let's look outside for a second, and I'm just going to rotate around and have a look at this crazy aircraft. So here it is here, the Sky Crane, and supposedly this can lift a lot of weight. I'm going to have to look up what the engine size is, but that's a lot of pressure on the tail rotor drive system. And what you have here is if you look at the main rotor gearbox here, it looks like that yellow thing that's rotating is sucking air into the gearbox, maybe to cool it off or something. This is what it looks like anyway. There's the tail rotor shaft turning like crazy. And then there's the tail rotor and the tail rotor gearbox down below there. And I'm not sure what the device is on the top. It probably has something to do with the lifting. The cranes that are on this aircraft for lifting. And I think it had 6 blades on it, but I'd have to stop the aircraft and have a look. Maybe it had 5 blades. I'm not going to stop the aircraft though. So there's that. It's got the pretty firm landing gear on hard points on the aircraft there. And it's a 2-engine aircraft, but it can lift a lot of weight. Not sure how many pounds it can lift, probably 20,000 maybe. I know there is an aircraft in Stratford, Connecticut by Command Helicopter. That's a dual-bladed aircraft where the blades kind of weave into each other. And it was invented by Charlie Command, who worked for Sikorsky. And Command Helicopter invented the K-Max helicopter. And the K-Max could lift 6,000 pounds. So the K-Max was simply for lifting, and it was a one-pilot aircraft. So when you got your license and your general pilot license, and you went through your Bell 401 flying and all that crap, and then they said, okay, you're going to become a K-Max pilot. The danger is you did not have a co-pilot with you the first time you flew a K-Max. You're on your own, baby. So you didn't have your first flight with a co-pilot telling you that you're doing all this stuff wrong. So here you've got a co-pilot here, and you've got the co-pilot's likely in charge of all the lifting. So let me back this off again. And so I've got, again, controls set to just anti-zoom, I'll call it, zoom out a bit. So I can take off here. I should be sitting in the aircraft taking off, and I'm going to just take off so you can actually see. When I take off, the tail tends to want to go down, and this tends to want to go up. So let me just, I don't want to crash the aircraft. So let me take some power off the aircraft here. And taking off the aircraft without being inside is not a good plan. So let me just jump inside here again. And there we go. And I've mapped all the views. Basically, it comes mapped. So if you hit the shift key and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is the best way. And when they get the topo eye tracker fixed, I'll be able to lean sideways and up to see the avionics, right? So, and again, I hit my trigger to reset. So this is quite an interesting airplane. Maybe I'll do a video in the future on lifting loads. So here it is here. Now I did have autopilot set. So I can set my autopilot there. And I'm not sure whether I have a triggered button for hold, for altitude hold. And it's radio altitude hold, rad alt hold. And there's barometric altitude hold. So I think I hit it for barometric altitude hold. She knows all about the warm-up routine. Yeah, she does. I have a very forgiving wife. We've been together forever, so I've treated her well. She's not the type that buys fur coats and shoes, though. She's very practical and buys only things that are needed. We have 3 kids and 7 grandchildren, and none of them fly. Oh my God, right? Oh me, oh my. So now it's loading up. I could tell it's kind of loading up scenery right now because it's a bit jittery. And I put it on ultra for loading up scenery. And that's way more jittery than it was before. And it's only jittery because it's accessing the cloud to load stuff up. And I'm wondering if I just hit pause for a second. So I just hit the pause button and just relax, Jerry. And so after I've done that and I unpause, is it going to be smoother? It seems to be a bit smoother. So I hit the pause button and it tends to load up some of the vectors. So yeah, so if you just get to where you're going, pause for a second and then load, then you're probably better off. And I'm not sure where the heck I am with the airport. Oh, there's the airport there. So there's the parking lot that's always filled up. And let's go down here. And I'm just going to go down here and see if I can land in front of where I used to work. That's not where I used to work. Where are the buildings that I know and love? I think that they're not here. Not sure what this area is. Different part of the airport? I was in, oh, you know what? I'm in a different airport. I thought it was in Halifax. I'm in Chicago, O'Hara. And you got to take a train between terminals in Chicago. I know that because I wore out a pair of socks trying to run between terminals. So this is, if not the busiest, the second busiest airport in the world. So Heathrow is very busy. I've flown Heathrow before. And I know that in Florida, not Orlando. There's another airport in Florida that's very busy too. You guys can tell me what it is. But anyway, that's it. I'm just going to land this aircraft on the runway here. It's very jittery on this runway, and this maybe because there's a ton of objects, but maybe because I put buffering on ultra that caused it to be jittery. So let me just pause for a second, go back to settings like this, go back to graphics like this, go back to rendering, and then NVIDIA low latency, reflect low latency on, VSync. What did I set? Off-screen caching. So I put that on ultra. So we're going to put that on high, but not ultra. Because I'm not sure what it did, but it didn't like it. Now, did I have to save that? If I go back into settings, is that saved? NVIDIA frame rate. Rendering, dynamic, high. Yeah, so it's fine. So escape is saving back. So you just hit the escape key and there you go. And there's my helicopter floating away. and then hit resume, which is French for resume. And I'm going to just land this aircraft right here. Put her down. So make sure your rate of descent is always watched when you land a helicopter. And you don't want to land going backwards with a poor rate of descent because you're going to cause problems. So when you push your cyclic left, you push your pedal right. And that's how you get this thing straightened out properly. So I'm just going to land right here and step out of the aircraft for a second. And there we go. So anyway, that's kind of all I wanted to do today. That's a beautiful aircraft. Do you guys want me to load any more aircraft up here, or just want me to stop right now? I think there's a lot of videos online with guys loading up aircraft, and you can look at it. I think that's good enough. This is a very interesting aircraft. That's it for today. And as you can see, I can see on the bottom the airspeed, the power, the rotor speed, RPM, rotor speed, altitude, and that's my vertical speed. So that vertical speed dial is what I would be looking at for flying, for landing. Let me see if I can jump in the aircraft here. And there's a seat in the back, I think. So vertical speed. So I would be looking at, where's my vertical speed dial? Right here. So if you can see my mouse right now, this dial right here is the one I'm looking at while I'm landing. So I'm trying to make sure that that's not faster than, I don't know, 5 feet per second. I'm a chicken. So I want to make sure it's just not going down too fast. So very hard in the landing gear. You'll blow a tire and you'll piss off the maintenance guys. So that's it. The coolest part of this whole video is doing that. Flight planning, I discussed that earlier, and no need to talk about anything more. So it's just a basic setup for Flight Sim. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for logging in. Thanks, ChronoBest. It is an awesome sim. I had 2020, and I had Flight Sim X. I had X-Plane 10. I've had X-Plane 12, and I've had all the flight sims right down to the 1985 version of Flight Sim, where I would turn it on, put on my ILS, try to fly a flight track, and a flight very simple in that computer in 85, go up for dinner, have dinner with the wife and kids, come back down and go, where the hell am I? And then try using my NDBs and my nav aids to try to find beacons, NDBs and stuff, to try to find out VORs, NDBs, to try to do a correlation to find out where the hell I was. This is a lot easier, and even with the GPS and pilots nowadays, you don't have the issues that they had back in the old days when they just had basic instruments. And the reason they put basic instruments in these aircraft is because if these computer displays, these multifunctional displays, end up going tits up on you, you're in big trouble. So you're not going to be able to do what you want to do. So, and here we've got my Garmin. I think this is a Garmin. Anyway, my nav aids and everything else. I won't bother getting into an aircraft type aircraft, but they're really well modeled. So I'm going to shut up now. Decades of sim time. You're right. I've had decades of sim time, and like I said, I've worked for a company that I flew in Halifax, IMP Aerospace, in aircraft programs, Sea King helicopters, Cormorant helicopters. I did a little bit of work on the P3 Orion aircraft. I worked on the software for the F-18 aircraft when I was a kid. When they first came to Canada in the very early 80s, with my buddy Marcel, if he's going to watch this. And I worked on, went from the Cormorant helicopter, which was the EH-101 helicopter, for 7 years to the Cyclone helicopter for another 7. Actually, Cormorant was 5, Cyclone was 7. Then I did work in Italy with Alini Aramaki on the bid for the TX program for the 346 aircraft, which is a fighter trainer aircraft, M346. And then that was for the US TX program, where they're going to buy 360 of those aircraft. And I was with General Dynamics at the time. And then I worked on, let me see what was next, the C-27J with Alini Aramaki, which was called, it was probably Westland, Augusta Westland helicopter. It was a Augusta helicopter at the time. But this is a fixed-wing aircraft, so this would have been Alini Aramaki, which is now Leonardo aircraft. So I worked on that. proposal for Canada. We lost the bid on that. And then I worked on the Future Aircrew Training Program, where we've bought 5 different fleets of aircraft for that program. And I was the general manager of Skyline, the company that bid the program. And I worked on that for 3 solid day and night weekend years. And we bought some very beautiful aircraft in Skyline. If you're Canadian and you want to work on the Skyline program, it's Skyline, A-L-Y-N-E. Really good company, and an excellent flight training program for Canada. Largest flight training program ever awarded in Canada at $11.2 billion. And me and my team won that. I'll say my team won it. I just happened to be the guy in charge, but my team won it. And so I worked on a lot of aerospace stuff. Love flight simulators. Just the reason I'm in this business is because I love to do things that are cool. And as an engineer, I just love the technology. So make sure you if you're an engineer and you love to fly, get into Microsoft Flight Simulator and go for 2024, because they'll do some updates in the next month or so. You're going to see updates. They'll fix this stupid Tobii eye tracker problem that's causing this avionics to just kind of wander everywhere wherever I look, and it'll be a solid product. It doesn't crash. I haven't got a blue screen of death on this thing, which is excellent. So every product I've ever used have had this occasional blue screen of death. I'll bet you I can make it crash though. So I know that there's one thing in the configuration setup under controls. Watch this. And then after this, I'm out of here. So there's Tobii eye tracker, presets, and Tobii controls and settings. And it says Tobii, but if I look at Tobii controls and look at head tracking or hardware, what I'd want to do is toggle head tracking on and off. But what you want to do is do hardware settings, and it should let you configure the eye tracker. But watch what happens when I do this. And thanks for watching this. And if you want me to do any more of these, let me know. I love flying, so any requests are welcome. I'm hitting hardware, and we're going to watch this thing crash. There you go. I just hit hardware. Tobii eye tracker 5 froze. So, and right now it should be going to a controller that has controls on the left side for left, right, up, down, and it's got the curves to allow you to if I turn this way, it goes all the way to the back of the aircraft. If I go up like this, it actually, I can see all the panels on the top of the aircraft or the panels on the bottom. Doesn't work. Really pisses me off. So fine tune your curve. Yeah, right. Yeah. You crash it on demand. Yeah, that's a bug, baby. That is a big giant wasp. That is a bug. Okay. Anyway, so Chrono Best, I'll see you in the watchmaking world. Thanks a lot for watching. Look at that. Time to terminate. Do you want to terminate this? Terminate the program. Yeah, never mind. Anyway, I'll turn off now. So thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for DKB, who logged into this crazy long meandering chat of whatever, and to Magneto Man. Hopefully your i7 does the job. Magneto Man, it's good for you to have dialed in here. And hopefully your i7 does the job. I showed you my system specs, which are perfect. They're a little jittery and flickery and jittery and stuff when I was in Chicago O'Hara, but I think that might have been my preload. Just too much data, even though I've got two terabyte RAM, two terabyte hardware memory. So whatever the hell they're called. Good engineer, right? Anyway, see you later. Catch you on the flip flop, and that's it.